Hey, 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 welcome back to the channel. You know, there was one moment not too long ago that made the entire ARMY community around the world absolutely explode on social media. And it wasn't about a BTS comeback, it wasn't about a concert, it wasn't about an award. It was about an honest confession from a genuine legend of the music world. His name is Ryan Tedder. You know who he is. This is the guy who wrote Halo for Beyoncé, the man behind Bleeding Love by Leona Lewis, the genius whose hands touched albums by Adele, Taylor Swift, and Ed Sheeran and turned them into masterpieces. And this man, on camera, openly and honestly stated that his collaboration with Jimin is one of the proudest achievements of his entire career. Hold on, a producer with 4 Grammy Awards, a world-class songwriter, calling his song with Jimin the work he's most proud of? Seriously? Yes, dead serious. So today we're going to break down everything that happened, from how Ryan Tedder and Jimin first connected, to what he revealed in his interviews, to why this confession kept the ARMY up at night for days on end. If you're ready, hit subscribe, smash that bell button, and let's go. Before we get into the heart of the story, we need to understand exactly who Ryan Tedder is and just how massive his name is in the global music industry. Ryan Tedder is the lead vocalist and frontman of OneRepublic. You probably know their songs like Counting Stars, Apologize, and Stop and Stare. But behind the stage as an artist, Ryan Tedder carries an even bigger identity. He is one of the most sought-after songwriters and record producers on the planet. Think about this. He wrote Halo for Beyoncé, a song that still stands as one of the most iconic ballads of the 21st century. He wrote Bleeding Love, that turned Leona Lewis into a global name overnight. He contributed to Adele's albums, 21 and 25, both Grammy Album of the Year winners. He also left his fingerprints all over Taylor Swift's 1989, one of the best-selling albums in the history of modern pop music. 4 Grammy Awards, a track record that is absolutely no joke. And a man with achievements like these chose to collaborate with Jimin. And after that collaboration happened, he didn't just say it was good, or I enjoyed working with him. He said it was the work he is most proud of. This isn't small talk. This isn't a marketing comment. This is an authentic declaration from someone who has worked on hundreds, maybe thousands, of songs for the biggest artists in the world. Alright, let's rewind a little bit to where this whole story begins. Ryan Tedder's relationship with the K-pop world had actually been building for quite some time before Jimin entered the picture. He already had a track record of working with HYBE artists and Korean idols, including Blackpink, Tomorrow X Together, and several other projects within the K-pop ecosystem. So when his name started getting linked to Jimin of BTS, the industry already knew this wasn't some casual experiment. This was an intentional, carefully considered creative partnership. Then in December 2023, something interesting happened. At the glittering iHeartRadio Jingle Ball event, Ryan Tedder took the stage with OneRepublic. During the performance, he dropped Jimin's name and acknowledged that he had already written a song for the BTS member. ARMY who were there and those watching online caught that moment instantly. Within hours, the clip was viral across X, formerly Twitter, with thousands of fans declaring that Jimin's solo era wasn't over. There was still more music coming. And they were right. On July 19, 2024, Jimin released his second solo album titled Muse. The album is a deeply artistic journey, 7 tracks, each one exploring a different dimension of emotion, love, and identity. Among those 7 songs, there was one track sitting at position 5 that may have slipped under the radar for some listeners, because the album had 2 heavily promoted lead singles pulling most of the spotlight: Smeraldo Garden Marching Band, featuring Loco, and the main single Who. That 5th track was called Be Mine, and that is where Ryan Tedder steps into the story. Be Mine is a song with a fresh, rhythmic, colorful Afrobeat flavor. In contrast to the more introspective and melancholic first half of the album, Be Mine arrives as a direct, honest, and joyful expression of love. The beat is infectious, Jimin's vocal delivery feels natural and free, and overall the song carries a vibe that sets it apart from most mainstream K-pop releases. Ryan Tedder co-wrote and co-produced the track alongside Ollie Tamposi, Jacob Kasher Hindlin, and Dog, the top-tier production team that Jimin regularly trusts with his creative work. Dog and GHSDLOP then handled the final production. The result? a song that, according to Tedder himself, he wrote quickly and spontaneously. And that spontaneity turned out to be exactly what made it so special. Now we get to the moment everyone has been waiting for. On December 3rd, 2025, Ryan Tedder sat down for an interview with the Chinese YouTube channel Mui. During that conversation, he talked about his journey intersecting with Asian music and the K-pop world. He said casually, but with full conviction, "I listen to some Asian music. I've worked with a lot of K-pop artists. I produced for Blackpink, BTS, Jimin, and Twice." Then the interviewer asked a simple but powerful question. "Out of all of that work, which song are you most proud of?" And Ryan Tedder said something that shook the entire fandom. "I'd say I did a song with Jimin last year that did pretty well. I think it's a big K-pop pick called Be Mine. That was crazy because I just wrote the song kind of quickly, and then I opened the Korean chart, and it was number 2. It's kind of shocking how it happened so quickly. I'm proud of how well that song has done." Stop. Rewind. The man who wrote Beyoncé's Halo. The man who helped craft Grammy-winning Adele albums. The man with one of the longest and most prestigious track records in modern pop history is calling Be Mine, a song he made with Jimin, his proudest piece of work. And he openly admits that he was genuinely surprised by how well the public responded to it. When clips of this interview started spreading across international social media, the reaction was overwhelming. Army around the world were flooded with emotion. Fans who had loved Be Mine since day one of the album's release felt a wave of validation wash over them. And those who had maybe not paid enough attention to the song rushed straight to Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube to give it another listen, or in many cases, their very first. As you can imagine, once that interview went viral, social media absolutely erupted. On X, hashtags related to Be Mine and Ryan Tedder Jimin started trending across multiple countries. Fans were expressing a mix of pride, emotion, and honestly, a little bit of frustration. Why frustration? Because a huge number of them felt that Be Mine never received the level of promotion it truly deserved. One of the most retweeted comments read, "This song deserved to be a main single. If it had been released as a single, it could have entered the Billboard Hot 100. Another fan wrote, "Be Mine is the perfect hidden gem, but the whole world should have known about this." And perhaps the most moving comment of all, Ryan Tedder worked with Beyoncé, Adele, Taylor Swift, and he picks Be Mine as his proudest moment. Jimin, do you have any idea how big you are? Validation from someone of Ryan Tedder's caliber is not a small thing. This is a brutal, competitive industry full of comparisons and gatekeeping. When a veteran producer of his level speaks with complete honesty about pride in a piece of work, that is a very powerful signal about the artistic quality behind that song. What makes all of this even more remarkable is that this isn't the first time a world-class musician or producer has given Jimin their most genuine praise. Before this, Jon Bellion, the producer behind massive hits like Eminem and Rihanna's The Monster and Maroon 5's Memories, was already involved in the Muse album through several tracks, including the lead single Who. Jimin himself once described Bellion as someone he deeply respects artistically, even comparing him to an American version of RM, a compliment that shows just how much Jimin admires Bellion's musical intelligence. And Bellion didn't stay quiet either. He publicly backed Jimin's work and his creative process at every opportunity. The combination of two musicians of Ryan Tedder and Jon Bellion's caliber, both showering their most genuine praise on the same artist, within a close stretch of time, is something that simply cannot be dismissed. It speaks to Jimin's artistic standard being recognized by the global creative community, not just by his own fans. But the story between Ryan Tedder and the world of BTS didn't stop at Be Mine. On February 23rd, 2026, Ryan Tedder appeared as the opening act at the BTS from Asia with Love concert held at Jamsil Arena in Seoul. Standing in front of tens of thousands of ARMY, he said something that made the entire arena stop breathing. Most recently, I did a lot of work on the upcoming BTS album. It absolutely blew me away how talented they were, and I think it's honestly one of the craziest things I've worked on in my whole career. I know you're going to love it. The album he was referring to was Arirang, the historic BTS comeback as a full group after every member completed their mandatory military service. Released on March 20th, 2026, it became one of the biggest musical events of the year, and Ryan Tedder was part of it. In a separate interview reported by the Korea Herald, Tedder even explicitly stated that he produced music for BTS and Jimin, confirming that his involvement ran deep into the artistic ecosystem of both the group and individual members. This was never just a cameo. This is a genuine creative partnership built on mutual respect. So now the bigger question surfaces. What is it about Jimin that makes world-class producers like Ryan Tedder feel this way? First, Jimin's vocal ability is uniquely his own. His voice carries a quality that very few singers possess. There's a softness and a vulnerability to it. But when he wants it, there's also a power that can pull emotion directly out of the chest of anyone listening. That is not something that can be taught. That is a natural gift that has been sharpened by years of relentless hard work. Second, Jimin is an artist who is fully immersed in his own creative process. He is not simply the singer who shows up to the studio, records his vocals, and leaves. He is a co-writer, a co-creator, and someone with a strong artistic vision about what he wants to communicate through his music. In the Muse album, Jimin is credited as a writer on multiple tracks. Third, and this is perhaps the most important quality to a producer like Ryan Tedder, Jimin brings authenticity. In the studio, he doesn't try to be something he's not. He brings his real self into every song. And that is a rare quality that you can physically feel when you listen to his music. Ryan Tedder has worked with so many enormous artists over the course of his career. He knows the difference between someone who is just doing the job and someone who is truly living the art. When he says, "Be Mine," is the work that makes him most proud. That says everything about what he must have experienced during the creative process with Jimin. The Muse album was released in July 2024, and its accomplishments were nothing short of extraordinary. By the end of 2024, Spotify Korea announced Jimin as the Rap Cake Artist of 2024, a recognition that reflected his total dominance across 3 categories at once: Top Artist in Korea, Top Album in Korea, and Top Song in Korea. All of it achieved through Muse. That is a staggering achievement for a mini album with just 7 songs. And among those 7 songs, Be Mine, which may have been overshadowed during the initial release campaign, turned out to leave one of the deepest impressions, both in the hearts of listeners and in the heart of its own producer. More and more people have been discovering Be Mine recently, especially in the wake of Ryan Tedder's interview going viral. A song that was once viewed by some as just an album cut has now found new attention, new streams, and a new wave of appreciation. There is something genuinely beautiful about that. A piece of work that was initially hidden slowly finding its own light, not through massive promotion, but because its quality speaks for itself, supported by the honest testimony of the person who created it. Let me say something that goes a little deeper than just industry news. There is a narrative we hear too often in the entertainment world, that K-pop artists are products, that they have no creative control, that their music is just a formula. That narrative might hold true in certain cases, but the story of Ryan Tedder and Jimin is concrete proof that there are K-pop artists who go far, far beyond that stereotype. Jimin is someone who made a producer with the greatest track record in global pop music, say, with complete honesty and zero pressure behind it. This is the work I am most proud of. Not Beyoncé, not Adele, not Taylor Swift. Jimin. Park Jimin, a boy from Busan, who joined BTS, who trained for years, who struggled with fear and self-doubt that he has openly talked about himself. That person, with his one-of-a-kind voice and his genuine soul, has left a profound impression on one of the greatest legends the music industry has ever produced. That is not a small thing. That is a legacy. Alright guys, that's everything you need to know about Ryan Tedder's extraordinary confession about Jimin and Be Mine. From the interview that went viral in December 2025, to his appearance at the BTS concert in Seoul in February 2026, to his involvement in the Arirang album, Ryan Tedder has proven that his relationship with Jimin and BTS is not some one-off project. It is an artistic partnership built on real respect and real admiration. And if you haven't listened to Be Mine in a while, or ever, go right now. Open Spotify, open Apple Music, open YouTube. Put your headphones on and turn the volume all the way up. Listen to what made a 4-time Grammy winner call it the greatest work of his career. You will not regret it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with every army who needs to hear this story. Drop a comment below. Do you think Be Mine should have been the main single? See you in the next one. Stay purple, stay army. Purple Heart. Annyeong.